Taurus, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Born Without Boundaries Astrology Motivation. Every single week, we review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact your natal sun and what that means for your day to day. I'll start really broad with the big stuff that's going to generally impact everybody and how it's going to generally impact everybody. And then I'll focus it down into Taurus specific information. And then we'll break things down into the decans so you know how these energies are going to directly impact your natal sun and what that's going to bring to your life. Now, for this video, to enjoy it and understand it, all you need to know is your birth date, because I will be translating the correlating degrees in Taurus to what kind of what birthdays they relate to. So you'll have a general understanding of how your natal sun is being impacted. But certainly if you want your natal chart, go grab it, because that's the most accurate. They're free online. You need your birth date, time, and place, and then it'll generate a chart for you in like a couple of seconds. There are websites that do it. It's totally free. So yeah, check that out. This is a pretty contentious week. It is difficult and challenging, but I think it's also groundbreaking, and there's going to be a lot of shocks along the way. Please grab your Taurus hats from www.bornwithoutboundariestarot.com so you could be rocking them along with me, and then let's get into it. Let's start with the big stuff, because that's where we usually start. We have two major transits this week, and that actually speaks to the kind of week that it is. It's really shaking things up. We also have one planet that is slowing down because it's going to be going into retrograde later on this month, and I'll be talking about that. The first of the two planets that's transiting is going to be Mars. Mars enters Virgo from Leo on the 10th of July. This is a dynamic change because Mars in Leo is pretty powerful and impactful and kind of optimistic, actually, very confident. But Mars in Virgo can get very facetious. It can get very pedantic. It likes its schedule. It likes to schedule things. It likes to do things at specific times. And if that gets interrupted, it can get easily frustrated. And the fact that it is going to be in opposition to Saturn starting the 10th as well means that it's going to be even more impactful that way. This sense of almost resentment because you feel like you're being held back because of all these things that need to be put into place, but nothing is in place because Saturn in Pisces is taking something from nothing and making something from it. So there is that kind of frustrating energy, but there's also a relative progress that's related to it. Still, though, contentious and can really play on your sense of urgency as well as your sense of value. Another thing that's going to impact that is Saturn is semi-square to Chiron, which kind of makes you feel like I can never do anything right, or I'll never be good enough. And it could make you a little bit more conservative when you make choices, because it's like, I don't want to get into something if I'm not ready for it, when in reality, you might really just need to go with the flow. So there's more contentiousness or reluctancy because of resentment or resistance. All of those things can be happening this week to make it really difficult to have faith, but faith is still the priority, always. We have on the 11th of this week, because this week goes from July 6th through the 12th. So on the 11th, Mercury transits into Leo. So Leo loses Mars and gains Mercury. Now, Mercury in Leo is very confident energy, says everything out loud, is very blunt and straight to the point, and likes to bring things to light and is not scared to talk about things. Of course, Mercury is also in opposition to Pluto when it enters Leo. So what does that mean? It wants to talk about the dark stuff. There's a lack of discomfort when it comes to the seedy, the shady, the down low, things that we've been ashamed of or scared to address in the past. Confrontation of it. Also digging down deep and digging up the stuff that people tried to hide and bringing it to light and talking about it. That's pretty much Mercury in Leo opposite Pluto in Capricorn. And Capricorn energy is really a lot about corporate world, a lot about rules, laws, and regulations. So there could be some major surprises that are happening this week, especially since both of those energies are squared to the nodes, which represent our life path and the journey we're taking right now. And there's going to be a corner that is turned this week. Let's just put it that way. We also have all week long Venus and Mars still conjunct, which is all about sexuality, sensuality, and brings to focus this partnership, our romantic and intimate partnerships. Now, as Mars goes into Virgo, what you say, how you say it, and being on time becomes much more important than it was with Mars in Leo. So that will create a change. They are still conjunct. We also have Venus, not Mars anymore really, because Venus and Mars are starting to separate. And so, but Venus all week long is square to Uranus, which means I'm interested in other things. I'm getting bored with the same old, same old. I want different. I want new. And so your sexual proclivities can be kind of varying from what they usually are, which could cause the square, right? The challenge or frustration when it comes to your relationships. What was your norm? What has been your norm? You don't want that right now. This energy won't last long, but this could bring up hookups, encounters, stuff that happens underneath the surface as opposed to people try to hide it, people try to get away with it. We shall see. And then we have the sun square to Chiron, which can press on our insecurities and our self-esteem, you know, not feeling good enough or feeling like we've been permanently damaged, or bruised egos. It could make bruised egos a lot more vulnerable. And then we have the sun sextile to Uranus and trine to Neptune, which means, yeah, we are thinking outside of the box, and our opportunities to be ourselves and the strangest, weirdest parts of ourselves are really shining this week. There's also tremendous ingenuity and creativity, and could bring up some major breakthroughs to light as well. So let's get into the Taurus specific, shall we? So for Taurus specific, what I look for is what's going on in the zodiac sign of Taurus. And I also look for what your ruling dignitary is doing. So let's review Taurus first, shall we? In the zodiac sign of Taurus, you have Jupiter and Uranus still. You also have the North Node still. The North Node is hanging out at 0 degrees. No. Yeah, the North Node is hanging out at 0 degrees Taurus. That's where it's hanging out because it's about to transit into Aries. So, but it's still there. So it's at 0 degrees Taurus. Jupiter is going to move between 10 and 11 degrees Taurus. So it is out of the first decan of Taurus and is now entering the second decan of Taurus, which, congratulations, you guys. It finally reached you. And this is some good stuff that's going to happen and generate some good momentum. And then we have Uranus, which is going to move between 20 and 22 degrees Taurus, which means it's going deeper into the third decan of Taurus. So this is really interesting energy as well. Uranus loves surprises, loves to surprise people. Don't try to predict it. It can't be predicted. Now, where we go over to your ruling dignitary, Venus, to see how she's impacting you. Because wherever she is, whatever's happening to her, you'll want to be aware of it because it'll kind of color or season everything that you experience. So Venus is moving between 24 degrees and 26 degrees Leo. And that should automatically strike a bell because Venus always moves faster than that. So her momentum is slowing down. And so she doesn't always move faster than that. But when she's normally going direct, she moves way faster than that. She moves about maybe like 5 or 6 degrees a day. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this little fly out of my face. So what does this mean that she's moving slower? Well, she's about to go retrograde. Venus is the planet that is going to go retrograde, I think, on the 28th of July. And so the retrograde is you're going to start to feel things slow down. And that's why she's separating from Mars, too. She's slowing down. Now, this is more a reflective and internal period. This isn't the sexiest period. This could also be old loves coming back, the feeling of it, the understanding of it, the value of it. So be aware of this. But she's not in retrograde yet. All week long, she's going to be still conjunct to Mars, which is sex. It's sexual energy. That's what it is. And it is huge right now. And then we have a square to Uranus, which means she wants to step out of the box when it comes to her sexual energy. She wants to try different things because she's tired of the same old, same old. And then we have a trine to Chiron, means we're trying to not make the same mistakes we've made before. Are we going to do it? Let's see. Could also be trying to heal those aspects of our own, those feelings of our own self-worth by insisting on change or trying different things, trying to not make the same mistakes we've made from in the past. So let's get into the decans. If you know that your natal sun sits between 0 and 9 degrees Taurus, then your natal sun is in the first decan of Taurus, and you are Taurus ones. This usually correlates to Taurus birthdays, April birthdays. So definitely the cusp between, between, why am I losing my train of thought? Definitely the cusp, Taurus cuspers, you'd still be in the cusp between Aries and Taurus. That's what it is. I'm sorry. I just losing my train of thought. I apologize. So it's definitely you cuspers anywhere between April 20, maybe 21st could be, but usually 22nd through the 30th, maybe the 1st of May would be Taurus ones. That's your correlating birthdays. It's you guys that are conjunct the North Node and opposite the South Node, which means there is a huge sweeping energy over the past year, year and a half to not be drawn to where you used to be or where you used to be comfortable, but to have more emphasis in your life on, oh, I'm more comfortable with stuff that I was never comfortable with before. Yeah, it's because your natal suns are conjunct the North Node and you're developing in your life. If you are an Aries Taurus cusper, you are trine to the Venus conjunct Mars, but only cuspers, really. Trine to Mars until the 10th of this month. So it's more a trine to Venus than anything. Venus and Mars. Yeah, yep, absolutely. So the trine to Mars on the trine to Mars on the 10th brings Mars trine to all of you, because then it goes to the first decan of Virgo. But really until the 10th, if you're at the cusp, you're going to feel this trine all week long, but most of you are going to be trine to Mars by the 10th. That's what I wrote. That's what I meant to say. What does this trine mean? I mean, it means more vitality. It also means kind of freer flowing motion and movement, feeling good about the way that things are going. Because this is a conjunction between Venus and Mars, this is also really being able to harmonize any kind of relationships or sexual energies. That kind of energy could be going very, very well for you. You can see some very nice things happening there. For some of you, because you guys are Taurus, it could also mean advancement financially and being able to start moving and taking action along those lines. Your natal suns are in a long-term sextile to Saturn, which means you are getting shit done. That's what you're doing. You are taking leaps forward into your maturity, and it's like you're adulting and you're loving it. You have a long-term square to Pluto, which means life is going through dynamic changes. And you have a more formidable presence to your character, which some people can find very intimidating, which is why people can be backing down from you and reacting weird to you. You're not even doing anything different. It's just that your sun is now square to Pluto. Remember, relentless, not ruthless. That's where you want to stay. That's the happy zone when your sun is square to Pluto. When your sun, this week, your sun is square to Mars, and that is really going to impact you. By the 10th, all of you will be square to Mercury. Square to Mercury. If you're at the cusp between Aries and Taurus, it's basically all week long. What does a square to Mercury feel like? It feels like a mini Mercury retrograde. Mercury's not in retrograde, but it feels like, why are people misinterpreting me? Why are the communications not going through? Why am I tripping over my words? Why did I not get that email? Why did the car just pop a tire? It's that kind of stuff. This is not a good week for you guys to sign important paperwork or take important tests or go out for jobs or interviews or auditions or whatever y'all do. This is not a good week. Postpone it. I mean, if it's just like something for practice and it's not that important, fine. But if it's important and this is going to seal the deal, please hold off till next week is all I'm trying to say. Now, with that energy, that trine to Venus, Mars, there is a sense of, things really working out. But with that a square to Mercury, things could still be awkward when you try to talk to somebody or speak to somebody, FYI. Taurus 2s. So you guys actually have a really great week. And I saw this and I was like, wow, this is nice energy. So let me explain. If your birthdays, your natal sun, is between 10 and 19 degrees Taurus, then it is in the second decan of Taurus and your Taurus 2s. This correlates to like the first week and a half of May. So May 1st through the 10th, in and around there, those would be your birth dates. Your natal suns are conjunct to Jupiter, which in some ways can make you kind of cocky and make you feel like, oh, I deserve more. But you also have this huge energy of just optimism about you now, that optimism, as long as you stay grateful, will draw in so much abundance, I can't even tell you. But you must stay grateful. If you get cocky, and with this conjunction you can even go so far as to feel entitled. Like, you take a sip of wine and you think, and you were able to identify that there are berries in it, and I'm a sommelier. Well, you're not. You know what I'm saying? It's like giving yourself more credit than you should for things can happen when Jupiter is conjunct your sun. So as long as you're just grateful for the experiences and stay in a place of gratitude, this optimism will get you very far. I said 7-11. Moon. Okay, so the moon is going to conjunct your natal suns. In fact, it's going to conjunct Jupiter and conjunct your natal suns on the 11th. So this is a very powerful day where you really feel and understand everything that you are, and you can get a rush of happiness and optimism on this day. I like this day emotionally for you, especially. And then all week long, you're sextile to the sun, which means sun sextile sun, there's a huge push of courage and life purpose and strength in that life purpose and confidence and even romantic. It's just optimism, especially for this week when your natal suns are sextile to the current sun. This is a beautiful, this week will feel lighter. You will be more optimistic, and I can't imagine there won't be more abundance and people seeing you and noticing you and you almost shining this week. So amen to this week for you guys. Taurus 3s. If your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Taurus, you are Taurus 3s. That correlates to anybody born between, say, May 11th through the 21st. Yes, into the 22nd, if it went that far, if the sun went in that deep into May that year that you were born. So it's your natal suns that are conjunct Uranus, which means strange things is happening. Strange twists, strange thoughts. It's almost like, I don't know, it's like you're stepping outside of your own box. You're an alien to who you thought you used to be. But this would also be very explorative energy. This would be adventurous energy and ingenuitive energy. And this is long term, so you're kind of stuck with it for like a year or so, or maybe longer, right? You have a long-term sextile to Neptune, a square to Saturn, and a trine to Pluto, which means you guys are at the heart and soul of making changes and making differences and surprising people. You're going against tradition or maybe expectations, and this square to Saturn is a sense of contention from the outside world of, not wanting not being comfortable with the systems and the way things are normally done. So this is very activist kind of action. The trine to Pluto means you are very comfortable in dark places and with weird things and looking at stuff that other people would normally throw away. You're also this is heightened and psychic energy. And it's kind of like, this is when you change. You're happy with the change. It is what is enticing you and impossible for you to resist now. It's just this time of your life, and you should really enjoy it. Enjoy the process. On the 12th of this week, your natal suns will be conjunct the moon, which brings a very together, whole, and complete feeling to your presence. You can be a little bit more emotional, but it's usually sort of catharsis and release around this time. This week, your natal suns are sextile to Mercury through the 11th. If you're a cusper, it's all week long. Sextile to Mercury means you better send out that application. You better write that email. You better make that phone call, because it's going to open doors for you. You're going to be right on when it comes to your brain meeting your mouth. The right stuff is going to come out. This is a great time to take tests. This is a great time to sort of open doors for yourself with your mouth and the way that you communicate. Absolutely have that conversation this week. 100%. Now, you're also square to the Venus-Mars conjunction, which means there can be some tension when it comes to your relationship, and especially because you're conjunct Uranus, because it's boring you and you want something different, and you don't want to be confined. It's like you want to try, you want to explore. This is a very exploratory week for you, especially sexually, with that square to the Venus-Mars conjunction. It could be that there's temptation there when it comes to stepping outside your relationship. Listen, what you do is what you do. I'm not recommending it. I'm saying it's more of a temptation now than ever. Or just wanting to bring a little bit more spice and excitement into the bedroom and whoever you currently share it with. That could be how this is playing out for you as well. There could also be tensions with moving forward with finances or financial obligations, just challenges to what's been going on, and curveballs that come at you with regards to those subjects. FYI. I hope you guys buy a hat, yes. And then come on over to, subscribe to this channel. If you love this video, give it a thumbs up. And definitely come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot, where I will be doing your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys. I love these hats. Hopefully I'll see you in them. See you in the videos.